What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. In case you haven't heard, Keith Thurman just turned down an offer from Jay-Z. Yep, RocNation, and it was worth $6 million. $6 million for 3 fights. This is how it worked. The payout was as followed. He was going to get a $2 million advance, $2 million up front. Then for each fight, 3 fights, $1 million. And then another $1 million. For the final third fight, another $2 million. Add that up, 2, 1, 1, 2, that is 6. And he even had him tweak the offer from what Dan Rayfield is reporting on ESPN. And they tweaked the offer to $2 million, 1.5, 1.5, and then another 1. So to get his $6 million payout and a little bit more money up front and per fight. So he refused this. I think it's a suspect move. I think that's a great offer for somebody who's in the position of a Keith Thurman. Now, the reason I think it's a bad move, I'm going to explain in this video. Because Keith Thurman is a guy who he's not far removed from having to, I mean, he hasn't made it, put it that way. He's a fighter that I like. I've told you if you've watched my old videos, he's a dude to check for. I really like Keith Thurman. He's a fighter I've seen evolve. When he first came out, I'm like, damn, he seems very technically flawed. He seems to be getting better each fight. However, that's a large sum of money. And the thing with it is he's not really in a position to turn down offers like that. And I'm going to explain why I think he turned it down and that kind of stuff. This is all my opinion. The only thing that's fact is that he was receiving those offers from RocNation. And the rest in this video is my opinion on what caused it and that kind of thing. So I think it's a foolish decision. RocNation, yes, it's a new company by Jay-Z. So you could clearly say, oh, maybe that's why he didn't want to gamble with the new company. Now, the flaw with that argument from my perspective is this. Yes, RocNation is new to the boxing world, but they're not new to the sports world, and they're not new to the business world. Jay-Z is very business-minded. Some people, because of the fact that it stems from the one of the heads of the company is a rapper, people are quick to liken the company to 50 Cent. And it makes sense, you know what I mean? Obviously, okay, 2 rappers and they're in the boxing world. It's a direct correlation, so people are going to talk about that. However, I think it's completely and utterly different. Here's why. Because 50 Cent, one, he came in the game kind of disrespectful. He treated the game like it was the rap game. Boxing and rap, hip-hop have a lot of similarities, but they also have differences. In the rap game, you can get at Nas, you can talk shit about Jay-Z, Big Pun, and say you're going to rob Bobby Brown like 50 Cent did. That's hip-hop. He came in dissing everybody. But the thing is, Nas is from Queens, 50's from Queens, Jay-Z's from Marcy Projects in Brooklyn, and it's a bit different because these are all hood dudes. These are dudes from the hood. You can't treat corporate America the same way. You know what I'm saying? 50 Cent came in the game trying to bully people like he did in the rap game. That's what I'm saying, man. Fuck Bob Arum, nigga. Fucking Oscar De La Hoya dressed in the drag, fruity ass nigga. You can't do that, you know what I'm saying? Oscar De La Hoya and Bob Arum and stuff, they're not going to respond or understand that, you know what I mean? And like it or not, Oscar De La Hoya has a lot of ties in boxing. He's a former fighter. He was working with Richard Schaefer at the time. He had a lot of ties and connections in boxing. B-Hop, Floyd Mayweather had a working relationship with him. So you can't come in treating it like that. Jay-Z, to my knowledge, hasn't done that. You know what I'm saying? I never heard Jay-Z, like, on Twitter dissing, like, Coded Boy ain't perfect. You know what I'm saying? I never heard Jay-Z say no shit like that. And that's one difference. Another difference is the fact that Jay-Z has a lot of business sense, and so does 50 Cent, but he also has it in the sports market. Now, basketball is different from boxing. I get that. But you're still dealing with athletes and you're still in the sports world. 50 Cent, to my knowledge, he was doing movies and music and he did the vitamin water stuff. So he had some business experience, but he didn't really have any experience or any real ties to sports. Jay-Z does. You know what I mean? He's a part owner with the Barclays and the Brooklyn Nets. That's his team. That's a basketball team for those that only watch boxing, don't watch basketball. And I believe he even had some stake in the Bobcats, another basketball team with Michael Jordan. So he has experience with sporting, you know what I mean? And whether you understand this or not, some people like the sports world. Like if you're a sports writer, some people, a sports writer doesn't necessarily just write only for boxing. They might write for sports like hockey and other things like that. You look at Top Rank and look at Christina Poncher. She does a lot with boxing, but she also does football. I see her report on football as well. So that's what I'm saying. You already have a tie to the sports world because there's some people who are flexible. They're just sports writers in general. So I think Jay-Z came into the game less disrespectful than 50 Cent, and he also has some sports background. You know what I mean? And I think that helps anytime if you trying to get a job at Best Buy, you work at Circuit City previously, and you work at Comp USA and Good Guys, all these other places, then that's experience in that respective field. That's one big difference. So I really ultimately don't think Keith Thurman's in a position to turn down that type of money. To be honest, $6 million, those are paychecks that guys who are way bigger buzz wise. I'm not saying better fighters or anything. I know you guys like to flip my words and stuff, but guys like Amir Khan, I think he got like 1.5 million. Adrian Broner got like 1.5 million. Maidana in his first fight with Floyd got 1.5 million, and that was all on a Floyd Mayweather card, and they're getting about $1 million to fight on a big event. You know what I mean? One of the biggest events of the year. And Amir Khan and Adrian Broner, to my knowledge, from my perspective, they have a bigger following than Keith Thurman. Not saying it's right or whatever, but that's the way of the world. Adrian Broner's a loudmouth and stuff like that. So, you know what I mean? He has a big following. Some people want to see him fail. Some people like him rapping, dancing. You know what I mean? Whatever it is, they watch him. Whereas Keith Thurman's still kind of relatively unknown from casual fans that don't really follow the sport of boxing. So you got guys like even Chris Algieri. He's fighting Pacquiao in Macau, China, for God's sake. And he's getting about a mil point five or something like that to fight Pacquiao. So this is the type of money for Keith Thurman, who is not a certified like world champion with those big fights under his belt. We don't know if he's gonna get. So I think it's ultimately a bad move. Like I said, you could say RocNation is new to the sports world, so this and that. But I still think that's a large sum of money. Even Rigondeaux, if you look at Guillermo Rigondeaux when he fought Nonito Donaire, he didn't even crack a million, and he completely dominated and outclassed Nonito Donaire. He got, don't quote me on this because it's been a while, but I would say 750,000 to 950,000, somewhere in that neighborhood. So he didn't even get a million to fight Nonito Donaire, and he had a highlight reel type performance. He you know what I mean, crushed him. So that's a large sum of money. Now, as far as some people are like, what do you think it is, Ego? The reason I think he turned down the money is Al Haymon. You know what I mean? I think his contract stipulates that he can't. It's like, have you ever had a friend who's on parole or probation, anything like that? They have to check in. If they want to go on a cruise, like, hey, I want to go to the Jamaica, they have to check in with their probation officer. And they have to get clearance from their PO, basically. Like, hey, I want to go out of town. Can I get clearance? That's, to my knowledge, from what I've heard, Al Haymon fighters. Keith Thurman can't make side deals and business deals. He has to get written consent or like some kind of verbal consent from Al Haymon directly in order to do those things, those business ventures and side deals. You know what I mean? So basically, he has to get approval. Now, for those of you guys who don't know, Al Haymon comes from the music industry. Jay-Z comes from the music industry as well. So they're former rivals and now they're current rivals because RocNation is trying to get into the boxing world. So why would a guy like Al Haymon deal with someone who's like a double rival, someone who was a rival when he was in the music industry and then also now in the boxing industry? It doesn't make sense. Like if there's a up and coming boxing channel and a decision like if I have something on, like I cornered the market in something like a certain fighter or whatever, or like let's say I had great footage of Pacquiao sparring, why am I going to give them the footage so they can promote and get paid off of my work, kind of, you know what I'm saying? Something that I already have on lock. I don't know if that makes any sense for you guys. So ultimately, I think it's an Al Haymon reason why he can't. You got to get permission. You know what I'm saying? It's like asking your parents for allowance money. And I don't think Al Haymon would let that happen. Now, the good and bad with Al Haymon. The good is that he can get you noticed because he represents a lot of boxing talent. And he can get you big fights. Now, the bad is, from the boxing fans' perspective, sometimes the fights he's given us aren't fights we want to see. Like Rod Salka versus Danny Garcia. Yeah, Danny Garcia got paid from that. but he also got paid, and it was pretty much disrespectful for the fans because nobody was craving a fight with Rod Salka, so fans felt disrespected. So it's cool that Danny Garcia is getting paid and he can take care of his family and his girlfriend and shit, but look who he's fighting. And it's not winning you any fans. That's why people are calling him a cherry picker to this day. So for Keith Thurman, there's no guarantees. It could have been a good decision. It could have been a bad decision. But at this rate that he is currently fighting at, fighting Leonard Bundus and shit like that, Jesus Soto Caras, who's not too far removed from losing 3 of his last 5 fights, I don't see $1 million guaranteed paydays in his future. You know what I mean? If he's fighting this level of competition, I don't think he's gonna really hit $1 million. He has to build his brand up more, and I hope he does because I like Keith Thurman a lot. And the last thing I will say is Keith Thurman, you got to look at it. Keith Thurman, boxing is fickle, and boxing fans are fickle. Therefore, a guy like Keith Thurman, there's nothing promised. When you're fighting this level of competition, I liken it to a Gary Russell Jr. So Gary Russell was fighting tomato cans, cab drivers, people at the bus stop. He was fighting those Tamayos and people like that, TBA motherfuckers. He was fighting people like that. And when he stepped up, I'm like, oh, respect to Lomachenko, 50-50 fight, but I think his power and speed is going to bother Lomachenko, and I picked him to win. And I was completely wrong when he stepped up. You went in against a guy who fought in his second pro fight, Orlando Salido, and has a decorated amateur background. So having that experience with top level guys is really beneficial because you can't buy experience. You just simply can't. Now, the problem with a guy like Keith Thurman, I'm not saying he fights like Gary Russell or he's fighting people as stiff, you know what I mean, or as tomato can as Gary Russell Jr. But what I am saying is he's not fighting that upper echelon. He's not fighting. That's why when people say stuff, I have thoughts and speculation as far as what will happen when Keith Thurman does get a step up and fights a big name. But I still got to see it. Boxing is a roller coaster. I thought a lot of people would win, and then they lost. So, you know what I mean? Anything could happen. And the thing with Keith Thurman, you limit your skills because when you're fighting guys like Jan Zabik and guys like that, you might only have to use a portion of your arsenal. You know what I'm saying? You might not have to really throw the left hand because you have so much power in your right, it gets the job done. But when you fight a guy like a Marquez who's at best durable and he's a legend and a veteran, you might have to do a lot more because he knows he's resilient. He knows how to deal with big fight moments. So that's the problem. When you fight suspect, subpar competition, you're not going to really hone and test your skill because you don't have to. You know what I mean? It's similar to a cop. Let's say you're in the police academy and you're doing all the drills and you're acing the written tests and stuff like that. You've never been on any ride-alongs and you've never seen how it was done. You never really got that on-the-job experience. And then all of a sudden you graduate, you're an officer, and then they put you on patrol. You're in New York City and there's like 80 to 100 innocent bystanders and kids walking by, and you got a guy who's wielding a knife or a gun and he's holding someone hostage. Depending on that person, they may not know how to deal with that situation because a test is only going to prepare you so much. You know what I mean? That's like a preamble to real shit. You know what I mean? A police academy test. So depending on that person, they might rise to the occasion and handle it beautifully, but then they also might fuck up and shoot an innocent bystander or, you know what I mean, get hurt themselves or get the hostage killed or, you know what I mean, different stuff like that because they don't have that experience. They don't know how to deal with those types of situations and you're automatically thrown into it. So that's the thing with Keith Thurman. It's a big test to see what he's going to look like against a big name, and we haven't seen that. I think RocNation, at best, could have been a good opportunity for him. It's a new company that has experience in the sports world, and they were offering him a large chunk of money that if he takes a loss, like even if he takes a decision loss, he's not getting $1 million. He's going to have to work back up to that. Or if at worst, you know what I'm saying, is if he gets stopped. Like, let's say he fought Madonna, got stopped. You're not getting guaranteed $1 million. So I would have probably took the money if I could because I think that's a little bit more. That it was a reasonable offer. You know what I mean? 3 fights, $6 million. That's a good amount of money. And wins aren't promised. It's no promise that he's going to stay undefeated. And if he doesn't, if he can't, he's not getting those types of paydays. So to have guaranteed money is always something you should look after. That's always something you should strive for. So let me know what you guys think of Keith Thurman one time turning down this type of money. I just think RocNation, like I said, just to give you guys a last little bit, RocNation is a business. They're after profit. So what they're trying to do, from my perspective, is they're trying to find a guy who's right there in the middle, dead smack in the middle. What I mean by that is they're not trying to really probably sign an Adrian Broner because he's a gamble. He's a liability. You never know how he's going to, hey, B, I just beat the fuck out of a Mexican. Mexicans hate me. Like, you know what I mean? He says crazy shit, and he's the type of person that could have fans turn on him at any moment. And, you know what I mean? Could be a headache. And he already took an L. Guys like Floyd Mayweather, Pacquiao, Amir Khan, I think those guys are already pretty established, so they'd have to cash out and offer a lot of money. You know what I mean? Floyd's not going to do it because he wants to be his own boss. Pacquiao is already in the top ranked situation. Amir Khan, I don't think he would do it because he's with Al Haymon, and besides that, he has a good fan base, and he's already seen $1 million before. He's already got $1 million payday, so they'd have to really make him an offer he can't refuse. So what they're doing, what RocNation is doing, they're trying to find someone who's dab smack in the middle, and that's a guy like Keith Thurman. He would have been the perfect vehicle, the perfect vessel for them to launch RocNation because, damn, we have a clean-cut dude. He's calling people out. He's a power punch knockout artist, and he's undefeated. We could build from that. They're looking for guys like that, guys like Felix Verdejo, guys like that who haven't quite made it, and they can give them exposure, but they're not going to have to break the bank to get one fighter. You know what I mean? And then aside from that, the other end of the spectrum is they're not trying to get a person who has no kind of fan base or nothing. Like, you know what I mean? Fucking Billy Bob Jenkins, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're not trying to get a guy like that who nobody's ever heard of that has some talent, because now you got to start from the ground up. You have to really build this fighter, get the public's buy-in. From a business perspective, this happens all the time. They're trying to get someone who's already lightweight established, but not fully established, someone dab smack in the middle, and that's what they're trying to do. So that's why they chose Keith Thurman. They were also looking at Rigondeaux at a point, and that's because this is already a guy with a skill set. We know this, and he still hasn't made it. You know what I mean? He was mishandled and not really managed properly when he was with Top Rank. So he's a guy they could build from. They can basically tap into and give him some exposure and build off it. Let me know what you guys think of my video. What do you think of Keith Thurman passing up $6 million? Make sure you like my video as always. Hate, comment, or subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off.